Hey everyone, Kate LaDon here, and welcome to the weekly Build a Brand show. This week, we're talking about one tactic that's going to make your personal brand and content creation so much simpler and so much more effective. And that is the rule of seventh time's a charm. Let's dive in. First things first, let's start with one of the false beliefs around personal branding and content creation. And that is, I always need to be creating something new and novel and super exciting for my audience. And while there is a time and place for that, it's actually repetition that's going to create momentum and conversions with your audience. It's not enough to say something one time. Research shows you need to say something about 7 to 12 times, or it takes 7 to 12 impressions to form an association in someone's minds. So, as content creators, when we're always on the path of coming up with new content, we're actually distracting people from the core principles we want to communicate with our message. We also create an incredible amount of complexity and pressure on ourselves to be creating this new content. So it's time to bring it back to basics, focus on the core principal messages around our brand, and deliver on those in a repetitive and effective manner. Let's look at somebody who's doing this really well. We're going to take a little virtual field trip over to Instagram and check out a Dr. James. Now, as you can see, this is an individual who's getting a lot of momentum on Instagram. He's at about 996,000 followers. And admittedly, on a daily basis, my fiance and I are always reading his content. What's particularly striking about his content is it's all written. There's no reels. There are no photos even. It's incredibly simple concepts that he is repeating over and over again. And as we look at some of those content pieces, you can see principles start to emerge. This is things like the cooking oil cheat sheet for losing weight and cooking with healthy oil. I mean, he's saying this a couple of different times in his content. He's just repackaging it. The other thing that he's always talking about is getting light in the morning, eliminating alcohol, junk food. I mean, as you scroll through his Instagram feed, you're going to see some of these suggestions repeated over and over again when it comes to living a healthy lifestyle and losing weight. So if we look at this, it's not that we would look at this and say, oh, this is so redundant and I've seen this before and I'm over following him. No, when you first incur him on the feed, you might not be locking into some of these concepts. Maybe it makes you raise your eyebrow and think, but you're not yet associating him with the idea of a healthy lifestyle and weight loss. But upon the sixth or seventh time, you may be in a different time and place to receive that message, and then you've cemented that brand association in your mind. All right, let me do this one more time. All right, so one of my favorite follows, I started recently following this gentleman on Instagram, is Dr. James, and he is a doctor of pharmacy. He's a cardiovascular research scientist, and he talks about evidence-based nutrition. So as you scroll through his feed, you're going to see a lot of the same themes emerge, yet said in a different way. He talks about what you should be eating at each meal, why, protein with every meal is really important if you're trying to lose weight, things of that nature. But as we even scroll through the recent ones, we can see that he's talking about sugar, flour, and seed oils not being healthy and how they should be limited. Then we see another post about 4 oils you should be consuming daily. And then we're scrolling down and we're seeing another post about the cooking oil cheat sheet. At this point, even in the first couple of posts, we're seeing the same concept, that of cooking oils and healthy cooking oils, repeated in different ways a few different times. Now, at first blush, you may think, wow, this isn't effective or that seems lazy. If you're seeing that, why would he keep regurgitating it? And I'll tell you why. Because in the journey of the news feed, when you're on Instagram and you're just perusing around, you may see something from him. It may spark interest or make you raise your eyebrow. And then you're probably going to do what all of us do, which is continue to scroll and not really think about it. But as you follow along and maybe your desire to have a healthier lifestyle or lose weight becomes more top of mind, you start to see his posts again and again, maybe about oil or eating protein, and you start to form an association. That being that using nutrition to lose weight is something I'm tying to him. Now, let us also not remember that learning takes fortification. You need to hear a concept several different times before you really lock it and understand it and load it into your brain. So, by taking a few core concepts, reposting around them, saying them in different ways, you're not being lazy. You're actually being a really great guide and teacher for your audience, and you need to start viewing it as such. So remember, as I said earlier on in this episode, it takes around 7 to 12 impressions at minimum to form an association. So if you're always posting about different topics and a wide variety of topics, while you may be thinking, I'm providing new, fresh content to my audience, you need to remember that they're only seeing a small portion of that. And you're robbing yourself and them of the opportunity to really learn about something to a degree where they're filming or forming an association and thinking of you in that process. My recommendation when we work with clients to really build out their personal brand is think about that core challenge your audience is struggling with. Come up with 3 different really impactful ways you're helping them solve that, and then go an inch wide and a mile deep on each of those 3 ways and create content around them. Say it in different ways, say it in different mediums, give examples one time, give a framework another time, give a helpful guide another time, but they should be locked around the same core principles. This is going to help form associations in your audience mind and also bolster your brand. So you become an expert in a singular area. And when they're ready to act, they're turning to you. Remember, creating a bunch of new content can be confusing and overwhelming for both you and the people you most stand to serve. Make it more simple for you and them to create a position in their mind, a place where you really own, where you can stand there and say, I am the expert of all of this, and then carve your path very intentionally down that route. By doing so, you'll be amazed how much more quickly your brand grows and how much more trust is built in your audience. If you have questions about this or have examples of somebody doing this well, tap it in the comment section. Otherwise, we'll see you on next week's episode of the Build a Brand Show.